Yeehaw! Okay, so here we go. Let's see. Go ahead and save your work. I just saved my work here. Forgot to tell you that. And Flash will crash like a mother on you. So you really, really, really want to get this twitch, the Command S twitch, so that you're always saving your work. And just from personal experience using this program for, I don't know, 13 years, 15 years, I always save versions as I go, different versions. So I might, kind of use the Command S twitch for 4 or 5 minutes at most, and then I'll save version 2, version 3. So for example, I've got bouncing ball video demo here. So what I would do is say File, Save As, 02. And that looks kind of confusing with the 2009, but who cares? I'll live with it. And save it so that I'll have several versions of this, because what I've experienced is that sometimes you'll just be saving over the same file and Flash will corrupt, and then that file is just screwed and you're out of all your hard work and your life is a failure. So go ahead, and this way what will happen is if a file does corrupt, you've got your earlier versions that are hopefully pure as the driven snow. So alright, that's my Polonius tip of the day here. So, all right. So what we need to do is we need to keep breaking this animation down, and we're going to go here and find the midpoint. Okay. So this range, there's not a nice midpoint. I've got to kind of fuss it out. I've got 2 frames that are in the middle because we've got an even number of frames between frame 1 and frame 5. So that's okay. And at this point, I might just go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and straight ahead this. I'm not going to break this down in the middle. So what I do is I select a range, and what we've been doing up until this point is just inserting a blank keyframe. But what we want to do now is that since I'm ready to get down to business here and just straight ahead this, right-click, and instead of saying Insert Blank Keyframe, I'm going to say Convert this whole range of frames that I've selected to blank keyframes. And if you remember, this is what we did when we did our 100-frame animation. You can select any range you want and convert it to blank keyframes, and everything will get that nice little empty circle in the middle, which is what we want here. And here's where I'm going to start reducing the range of my onion skinning. But I don't want to see all this. It'll start to get confusing. I just want to see the range between here and here, because this is where I've got to fit these 3 frames, have to fit between here and here. And I'm going to really be conscious of my spacing. I don't want to just make these equally distant from each other. I want to actually go ahead and keep them clustered to the top and gradually get a little bit faster as I go to the bottom. But this first range is going to be pretty close to the top. So I'll just make this too small, something like this, and I can just kind of quickly cursor it. Quickly cursor it over here, just to move it. And then, if you remember, using the comma and period keys takes you back and forth on the timelines. This is where this command comes in really handy, just 1 frame advance. So from my frame 2, I'll jump to frame 3 using the period key. And really, they use those keys because you can see the little arrows on top of the keys, which make a nice visual guide for you. And I'll make my 3rd frame here, something like that. And I'll just kind of adjust it a little bit here, and maybe down just a bit. And so what I'm looking at, if you see the gaps between the top of the ball, between there and there, I'm just making them just a little bit, tiny bit bigger on the way down, because that means it's getting slightly faster. And 1 more ball. And here, see, now I can't tell what's what. So I'm going to shorten my range here to just 1 back, so that I just want to see the frame before and the frame right after, so makes it a lot easier to see. Okay. So now, when you check, I've changed my range here to one frame on either side. So this way I can really check my spacing to make sure it's consistent. Because what I don't want to see is a change in the wrong direction. So I want the ball to be getting slightly faster as it goes down. So you can see here, that's pretty good. Faster, faster. Let me change the range one more time. Do that. So now we're just going to see the frame ahead. Okay. And then we get a nice increase in speed right here. So if you compare this is a pretty big space compared to that space. And so that's what we want. We want to get that frame rate, or not frame rate, sorry. We want to really increase the spacing as we go. So play it back. Looks pretty good. All right. And just to make my point, I will come up here and save this as version 03. And don't worry about file space because Flash files are not very big at all. So you can get a pretty complicated Flash file and it'll stay small. The exception is if you have a whole ton of photographs. But even then, it's worth it. Use up disk space, not your life force. All right, so time for the next video.